Okay, you're live, it says right there. So hi everyone, nice to see you again. Our second Sunday. Already a big hello from Cologne, Germany. Love Cologne. Hello from Dubai. Holy mackerel. I've never been. Hi from Walt, Robert Waits. Hello from Spain, Victor, Murillo. Yeah, everybody's checking in here. North Carolina, France, San Diego. I'm sorry, I can't read everybody's name. But, they keep coming. Awesome. Fort Worth, south of France, Minnesota, Toronto, Williamsburg, Virginia, Columbia, South America. I love that. I miss visiting South America. We've tried to go down there a couple of times in the last couple of years, but the timing hasn't worked out. And of course, we're all slowed down now. A lot of lovely things here. Thank you so much. Amir Fathi, looking forward to have you here in Dubai when this is over. If you will bring me, I will come. I've never had an invitation to go to Dubai before. Hello from the UK. Is this a question, babe? I have my darling Kelly here with me, helping me. There she is. Woo! Awesome. Oh, this is really nice. I want to thank you for this. This is Pedro Belora. Of course, you are a legendary guitarist, but I feel you are also one of the best composers on your genre. Thank you. How does a writing session look like? Couch, guitar tools, how long does the session take? That's great. And in fact, it is on the couch and basically with a guitar and something to write lyrics with if I'm writing a song with lyrics, you know. And I use my computer. I just use notes in the computer. I go there and start to work. And, I work over the course of the day and then over the course of the week and then over the course of the month. A session, could be 10 minutes or it could be a half an hour. But I take a lot of breaks. I don't like getting bogged down. And I know what that's like. I used to get, bogged down in the writing, man. I just take a break, get something to drink, have a snack. I'm a big snacker. So snacking is a part of my writing session. So keep it relaxed and open. And, generally these days I sit down with a guitar and just start fooling around. I'm kind of in an instrumental mode right now because of the work that I've been doing recently has been instrumental work. The Bill Evans record, the record with Bill, we did recently. And also producing Paul Franklin. I'm writing for him. All of it's instrumental, so I'm kind of out of the lyric head with the songwriting thing. And I really enjoy writing instrumental music. So so that we can move on to some other questions as well, I'll just say this, that, I try, I get a little idea, and then I try it backwards. This is kind of an analogy, but I try every possible chord on one note. Not every possible chord, but if there's a G for my melody, I'll play an E minor, I'll play a G major, I'll play a D minor 11, I'll play a B minor with the G on top, which is like G with the third and the root. I'll play an A minor 7, G on top. That's, the seventh of A minor. So I want the right chord for the right note and then have some kind of a melody that, I'm kind of moving towards, and then just try different chords against it. Things like that. Very experimental. Just try this, try that, It's like cooking, only you get to take the ingredients out, or painting, and you get to paint over something, Okay. Another question here regarding lyrics. Do you use the tools presented on Tunesmith? Any personal method you developed to plan the accident that is needed during creativity? That's pretty good. Plan the accident. Set the stage for the accident. Sounds like vaudeville. But I missed it, sweetie. I want to just look one more time. Do you use the tools presented in Tunesmith? So no, I don't. I like, I was inspired by that book, and I've read it at least 3 times, or I'll just reference it for a little bit, you know. But really, it was more, I take things just as inspiration, you know, because I have to go my own way. I've always been like that. Other than Mike Bloomfield, whom I strived to sound like when I first started playing blues guitar, I've always wanted to go my own way and sound like myself. And that would be the case with writing. So I take inspiration from people who have simply put a lot of time into the effort of writing, you know, working. Just the act of working, you know. I see songwriting as a craft. It's no different than making a table. And you can make a very simple, funky, functional table, or you can make an incredible work of art, you know. So, you know, craft can become art. Craft sometimes is just craft, and you see that a lot in bad pop music. It's just craft. There's no art. But, you know, so you bring the art into the act of working, just working. You know, it's not like you need to reinvent the wheel or come up with this new genius thing. Just take an idea and work with it. One of my favorite quotes from Oscar Hammerstein II, you know, he said, "You just keep making improvements until you can't improve it anymore." And that's when it's done. Okay, what else we got, babe? Last time we saw some Gibsons. Let's see that telly. I'm afraid the telly's upstairs. Sorry. But I'll tell you what. If you want me to. No, it's okay. Let's do that next week. And I'm going to try to get set up so that we can actually do some playing, you know, like kind of do a little even musical presentation, you know. Maybe even talk about some techniques, something like that. We just need to get the cameras set up right. This is basically right off the computer screen, you know, so it's just hard to get the depth of field correct. So thank you for that. We'll get to it. Wondering if you could expand on playing the 4-chord scale over a dominant 7th chord. The 4-chord scale. And do you play over the 4-chord of 1, 4, 5 changes in a 12-bar blues? So the 4-chord scale over a dominant 7th chord. Okay, I think I know what you mean. Like in a blues, 1, 4, 5. So the 4-chord. So the 4-chord, you know, the E minor pentatonic scale runs right through it. Like if we were in the key of E, right? So that pentatonic scale works, which is why you can go to the 4-chord and still just play the same blues, you know, out of E, because all the notes in the E minor pentatonic scale are in what would be the A7 chord. Now the A7 scale is D major. Any 7th chord is a 5 chord. A7 is the 5 chord of the key of D. So the key of E, B, is the 5 chord, right, of the key of E. So A is the 5 chord of the key of D. And it's also the 4 chord in a blues in E. So the scale is D major, but you're starting on the 5th degree. So that's the Mixolydian mode. You're just beginning on the 5th degree of the D major scale. I hope this isn't confusing. But if you just play the D major scale, starting on A, which is the 5th degree, you know, that's the scale of the 4 chord. Hey, Robin, along with your songwriting skills instrumentally, your lyric skills have evolved. Lyrical skills have evolved over the years. Have you been more conscious on what you want to write about? Well, yeah, in that I want to write something. I want to write something good. I want to try to write something that I haven't heard before, put the words together in a way that I haven't heard before. And again, it's a craft, you know, like I used to think that I had to say something, you know, like it was important to I feel very strongly about something and now I want to put that into a song. That's not how songwriters work. Sometimes it is. You can be inspired in that way and things come out of that. But really, it's more of a craft. And then as you're, you know, using the craft, you know, as you're talking about a subject, you find things in you that resonate with that. Just like an outside listener would, maybe, you know, like they have an experience that connects with those words that you said. So that's the way I see it. Like I say some words, you know, like some kind of a phrase comes to me, you know, just a sentence, however you want to put it. And then I get something out of, I go, oh yeah, that. So it's after the fact, you know, you can say something and then like, you find the emotion in you after. And then that opens the thing up to where like, yeah, okay. So now I can say something that's coming right out of my own experience because it will come to you, you know. At first it's just put some words on paper, you know, and then discover how that is something that, you know, you do understand. And now you're connected with your inner thing and you can, you're moved to say something further. This is how I relate to it. What else we got? Amir Fathi, what's your favorite album? Your albums? If you mean of my own, yeah, your albums. I can kind of answer that. Tiger Walk, interestingly, because over the past 30 years, my music has been primarily, you know, writing songs and singing songs, you know, ever since Talk to Your Daughter. But before that, I was an instrumentalist primarily. And the Tiger Walk is an instrumental album. And I had just gotten kind of burned out on the road with the group The Blue Line. I mean, we had a great run of about 6 years. Made 3 records, all of which I'm very proud of. And just got a little burned out. And so I disbanded the group. And when I finally was like, what kind of a record should I make? I felt like recording. I didn't want to write lyrics. I didn't want to try to gin up something, you know, that wasn't there. So I did an instrumental album. And so that album I love. The Bringing It Back Home album, really like a lot. That record, and it's only like, I wrote only 1 song on that record. So only 1 original composition. But just the way the band plays together on that record, the way that musicians are interacting, I'm so proud. You don't hear records like that. I haven't heard a record like that. The way the instruments are talking to each other, the way all of us are listening and acting and reacting. I think it's a very rare record, and that's why I like it. It's that the band, you know, the interaction, the instrumentation, trombone. You know, I've always loved the trombone, and I finally found a place to use it in my music, you know, so that was a joy. And then I can honestly say this, my last record, Purple House, for me, it's a unique record. All of my records have been different. I think I can actually say that, and it's true. Not one record has sounded like the other one, but this one really stretched out. You know, in the sonic realm, we took a lot of time mixing that record. It took a long time. Well, that record was made over about a 4-month period of time, which is a long time for me. Usually it's no more than a month, you know, 2 weeks recording, 2 weeks mixing, something like that. We spent 4 months coming and going from it. And really different kind of writing on that record, and I like it that it's all guitars. There's almost no keyboard on that record, which I dig. So those three. Hi from Poland. Hello from New York City. Thanks for doing this, Robin. My pleasure. Robert Waits. Hi, Mr. Ford from north of France. I would like... Sorry, I lost it, babe.
Me too.
No, it's gone. We'll find you. How did that happen? It like went away.
I don't know.
We lost you.
Okay, sorry.
Let's find something else, and then we'll look around.
Try to with that one.
From Eddie Jones, have you ever tried any of the new digital modelers, profilers, like a Fractal Audio or Kemper? So I think that Kemper it's like you plug into it and you get an amplified guitar sound, if that's what you're talking about. Like it takes the place of an amplifier. So I think that's what you're referring to. And the answer would be no. I haven't had to. I don't home demo. And I haven't done anything like this in that way. And I don't think that I will, because ultimately there's something, that just sounds a little untrue, to my ear. And my sound is the most important thing, for me. It's like that is the first thing. If that's not happening, I'm kind of in trouble emotionally. I'm just not happy. So I think when we see you again next week, I'll probably be plugged into an amplifier. And I'm going to try to make it so that actually sounds good too. You're not just hearing it from across the room or something. And we'll probably do it upstairs in Kelly's studio.
No.
So how was your transition from conscious playing, thinking in scales and theory, to just play, hear and have fun? Hope I made myself clear with the question. I do understand the question. And I never did thinking in scales and theory. I never did that. In learning how to play blues, that's the pentatonic scale primarily. But my first real influence there was Mike Bloomfield, and he was using, like the major sixth and the major third. He was playing very fast. And he was really pushing, he very emotional, so he was always kind of pushing, the music along. And so, like not being very good, when I first started playing, it was sort of like made me angry. And so I would use that anger, to just play anything, something, howling, screaming, expressing, intense emotion, because I was a teenage kid, full of hormones, and I really wanted to be able to play the guitar, but I wasn't very good. So it was very emotional for me. And so I just beat the shit out of the guitar, just tried and tried and tried. I wasn't like, this is a particular scale and I'm going to play the notes in that scale. I never did that. When I learned the better scales, the more sophisticated scales, I just applied myself to them in the same way that I had the pentatonic scale, just like play the diminished with the same frustration, the same need to express something. And, I heard recordings of myself. I won't listen to them again. I won't go looking for them, but I've heard recordings of myself in that period. And it's like when I was with first the Charles Ford Band, my brothers and I, and then Jimmy Witherspoon. Oh my God, terrible. We're trying to play Stella by Starlight, and I'm just playing blues licks all over it. So I just kept looking for the right notes, and I always like to say that I learned how to not play bad notes. I learned how to not play notes that didn't belong there. I know it's this chord. I know it's this scale. So you learn the scales and the chords. That's not really difficult. What you do with them, I think, is your question. Ultimately. And again, for me, I play it just like I play the blues. I come right out of Mike Bloomfield, man. Okay. Do you have any other guitars like the Gibson B25 and ES355 that you don't take out on the gig much? If so, what are they? If not, do you have any guitars that you regret letting go? So the B25 is just like, a home or studio guitar for me. And I have also a 1959 J45 that just sounds incredible. And that's the guitar you'll hear, the acoustic guitar you'll hear on the Purple House album. And I wrote most of those songs on that J45. The 355, I actually don't play out live. When I toured with Phil Lesh in 2000, I had that guitar out there with me. And I used it out there with him, Phil Lesh and Friends. Even recording, no, it hasn't appeared. As far as guitars that I regret letting go of, there is one. There are two. The Super 400 that I played with Jimmy Witherspoon, that was just a terrible mistake that I sold that guitar. And the other would be my gold top. Gold top. It was 54 or 5 Gibson Les Paul with P90 pickups. Some people have seen that guitar. When I did the cover of Vintage Guitar magazine, I had that guitar. That was quite some years ago. But that guitar is all over the Tiger Walk record, particularly on, I think, where you really do hear it well. It's on the song Freedom, and also I Can't Stand the Rain. Man, the tones are great. Which one?
This one.
Till Guitar Schneider?
Yeah.
Hi, Robin. Till here. Saw you in Maastricht last year. Great show and amazing sound. Why you don't use the Dumbleator and the Overdrive channel anymore? Sound reasons, or are you just too loose weight? I understand. The Dumble Overdrive doesn't sound good through the pedals. All the pedals just freak out. And indeed, that was the whole point of the Dumbleator, right? To make it all work. But it was sort of a combination of things. Like I found that I didn't need the Dumbleator to use pedals. And it may be that, like, what do they call it? True bypass. Maybe technology's just gotten better in the pedals so that they can handle a loud signal better or something. And indeed, I love the Dumble Overdrive sound, but I'd have to be using the Dumbleator. And I think to some degree, the pedal board is just a little bit more convenient than the rack, and that big old, I used to travel with that delay, the TC Electronics 2290. Fantastic. Best delay I ever heard. But yeah, pedal board just became, I think, a little more expeditious, practical. And the Zen Drive has been kind of fine for me. But at the same time, I've moved away from overdrives to a great extent and gotten back to a more clean sound and just using the boost, off the Dumble. So that I've loved moving away from overdrive more and more. Less overdrive I can use, the happier I am. I like the sound better. Clean and loud. What do we got? Next week, you're doing this again? Yeah, we're gonna do this every Sunday, as long as Kelly's here. Eddie Jones, have you ever tried any of the new digital modelers, profiler? Oh, we talked about that. We did that one. It's been over 2 decades that I have followed you. When this nightmare is over, I wish you would come to the UK. Otherwise, I will come to Nashville. You might have to come to Nashville, man. My traveling days are going to be very limited in the future. I wouldn't mind coming back to London one more time, though. And we were planning on it. Bill Evans and I have a tour booked for late June through the first 2 weeks of July, and we were going to be in London at Ronnie Scott's for 3 nights, like right around 15, 16, 17 of July. Something tells me that won't happen, but it could. Would you ever release a Tiger Walk 2 album? You know, never say never. I think that's my answer. Could happen. Thanks a lot for this. Oh, Amir Fathi, you are a songwriter, I see. How did you write Different People? Wow. That was a while back, and I don't quite remember. I think that was written with Michael McDonald. Yeah, that's a pretty good song. Thank you for bringing it up. That's on Day in Nashville. Right. I haven't listened to that record. Sorry. Hi, who would say your favorite songwriters are? Well, there are so many great songwriters, and at the same time, I couldn't single any out, you know? I just hear great songwriters, and I'm like, wow, they're sure a great songwriter. Wish I could be a great songwriter. And work at it, you know? So I can't even say that I'm influenced by anyone. Not really. So you see, and my, I would say, what's the word? Like theoretically or technically or something. I've been more inspired by the procedures of people like Stephen Sondheim and Oscar Hammerstein II. These are Broadway writers, you know. So these people, again, it was the craft, you know. They were really about the craft. They were about the right word in the right place, the hard rhyme, you know, not climb and dine or whatever, you know, just because it has an I in it, you know. Meter to be precise. That's how I, you know, developed myself as a songwriter, kind of in a technical way. Exactly the opposite of what I did with guitar playing, you know, which was much more just like trial and error, throwing paint at the canvas, you know. With songwriting, it was like I had to work at it a little bit more because it didn't come to me anywhere near as naturally. In fact, I would say it didn't come to me naturally at all to be a songwriter. That's why I've really become a believer. Anybody can do anything they want. It's like, oh, I can't draw. That's how I feel. I can't draw. If I listen to my own, you know, lesson, you know, it's like, hell yeah, I can draw. I'm going to learn how to draw, you know, but it's going to take you 10 years. Okay. Hi, Robin. Could you talk a little bit about triads in improvisation and how you combine them with scales? I think that's not really for this moment. Maybe next week, you know, because if I can get the guitar thing happening and I can demonstrate a little bit, we'll see about that. But thank you for the question. David Keynes, Can you discuss how you visualize the fretboard, C chord shapes, C scales? Does it change, or does the melody in your head just somehow flow out? Well, I learned the fretboard of the guitar very slowly. I learned it by playing the simplest of things, like first of all, the pentatonic scale. Can you play the pentatonic scale all over the fretboard, in any key? That you should be able to do that pretty easily. So that is learning the fretboard. If I'm in the key of F sharp and I see the second fret on the third string, the G string, I know that's, I know what it's going to sound like, right? If I'm on an F sharp, I know what that's going to sound like. I've heard it so many times. I've been there so many times, So just over and over again, visiting, the fretboard. And chords, like if you play, let's just say an A triad, well, so you can play it on the D, G, and B strings. You can play it on the G, B, and E strings. You can play it on the low E, A, and, G string. So, making that connection with where your finger is and what it sounds like. So that's, you got to make that connection with what it sounds like, right? That's really important to make that connection. And I think often it's the ear that takes the back seat for guitar players trying to learn how to play the guitar. It's all out here. But you just really need to make that connection between your ear, where your finger is, and the note. And then with the guitar, you move up a half step. Everything stays the same, or anywhere on the instrument, right? It all stays the same. That's, I think, the best I can do right now. Question. How do you choose the musicians in your band? Personally, I really liked your trio with Travis Carlton and Toss Panos. The groove of that trio was impressive. Yeah, that was a good group. I met Travis Carlton. Of course, he's Larry Carlton's son. And I met him when he was a kid, But anyway, he's become a great bassist, a great musician. And I first played with him with his dad, on the road with his dad. And Toss was the drummer. I had known Toss. I had even recorded with Toss. He did my album. He did half my album, Keep On Running. And so we played together some in the past, but I'd kind of moved away from that, for whatever the reasons, who knows. So playing with Larry, Travis and Toss were just great. And I'm like, can you work with me too? And they were certainly into it. And, Larry and I's schedules were separate enough that it was okay. Kind of worked out. And that band for me was great, like for about 2 years. And I honestly feel like almost any band has a life of maximum 3 years. And then they said, stop. That was one of my favorite trios, for sure. Yeah. Toss, very improvisational drummer. And Travis, big sound, big groove, and was glued to what Toss was doing, So it was great. Let's see. How did you improve your right hand? Your sound is very soft. Any special exercises for that? That's very interesting. Your sound is very soft. I would have, not that I don't think my sound is soft, it can be, but I think maybe you're talking about just the way I hit the string, right? So this is a good question and something I think people should really consider. Make sure I get that together again. How did you improve your right hand? Your sound is so very soft. Any special exercise? Okay, I went through several stages. The first was all downstrokes and pull-offs, no upstrokes. Then I started practicing back and forth picking techniques so that I could develop the upstroke thing too, you know. And my use of that back and forth is actually kind of limited because as a blues player, I'm much more interested in, you know, tones and inflection, nuance, you know. So think about B.B. King, you know, when he started playing real soft, you know, or Albert King, but he played with his thumb, and that gives a certain kind of texture. So I'll play with my thumb sometimes, you know, and I, you know, I'll play back here next to the bridge to get that kind of sound, you know. So it's all about feeling out the instrument, you know, like just applying pressure in different ways, you know, or lightening your pressure, you know, things like that. So it's really experimenting, you know. It's very much, you know, like I think people take the guitar, you know, like too technically or something. Not that I'm suggesting you do necessarily, just in general. So in general, you know, I think people should just play with it more, you know, experiment with it more, you know, just pull off strings, you know, just bang on it a little bit, like just kind of appreciate what it can do because it is a stringed instrument, and you know, you do have a pick, you know, so that it's not so much about the notes. It's not all about the notes, but how you play them, right? And again, I have always kept my music simple. And I went through that fusion period, you know, with first the LA Express and then the Yellow Jackets. But that only lasted for a fairly short period of time, and then was Talk to Your Daughter. Yeah, was the next record I made after the Yellow Jackets. And that's a blues record, and it's all about big sound and, you know, inflection and nuance and everything. So it can be a little looser, I think, you know, one's approach, you know, playful, a little more playful. I think you had a 52 Gibson Les Paul Gold Top when you played Yoshi's about 2 years ago. So what happened to that? Yes, and I had been on the lookout for, I wanted to get, I prefer the humbucking. I thought I wanted the humbucking pickups more. And there are certain things about the Les Paul, you know, later 50s guitars. I mean, you know, the 59 Les Paul is like, you know, the most expensive guitar in the world now. There's some kind of a reason for it. You know, it's overpriced, of course, but why that one was singled out, I understand that now. So I've been trying to get something like that. So over my career, you know, I've never made a ton of money. So I've gotten my good guitars by selling another guitar. So it's been this upgrade period, you know. So that guitar, I think that's the one that belongs to Jeff McErlane now. I'm not sure because I went through so many of them. Gold tops. Ask Jeff McErlane if he's got the 52, because he might have the 53 or the 54. I'm not sure. I'll ask him later. So do you plug your TC Hall of Fame front or loop without dumblator? Yeah, no dumblator anymore. And I think it's the last thing in the chain. I think. Let's see, I don't even really know. I have people to help me with these things because I always think somebody else knows better, and generally they do. But I think it's the last thing in the chain. Did you ever get to spend any time with Mike Bloomfield? I spent about 60 seconds with him on a chest that was down in the basement of this club I used to play in San Francisco. And my brothers and I, the Charles Ford Band, were opening for Freddie King. It's a place called Keystone Corner, the original Keystone Corner on Vallejo Street in San Francisco. And so we played our set, and we played 2 sets a night. So Freddie King would come on, then there was a break, then we would play, and Freddie King would play again. It's pretty amazing, man. Early 70s. So after our set, I was hanging around upstairs, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, Robin, Mike Bloomfield's in the basement." Like, what? So I just ran down there, and Bloomfield was sitting on this chest, you know, like an old chest, because it was a terrible downstairs basement dressing room. And I sat down next to him, and I said, "Wow, you know, you're my favorite guitar player." He goes, "Oh, yeah?" And I said, "Electric Flag's my favorite band," you know. And he asked me if I liked the blues or the other music that they played the most. And I said, "The blues," because I thought it would make him happy. But actually, I liked all of it, you know. And then right at that moment, Freddie King started to play. And he goes, "I gotta go." And he ran upstairs. That was it. Great. Thanks for doing what you do. Just curious, as you are in Nashville and there is such a large amount of great guitarists out there, do you guys get together and socialize a lot? No, we run into each other, and others might. I don't know. People are generally pretty busy up until now. Probably be easy to get together with somebody now, but you know.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah, it's both. So, yeah, you know, there's a few people that I actually run into from time to time because we live in the same neighborhood. Guthrie Trapp lives over here. We're in East Nashville. Guthrie Trapp lives over here. I run into him, and also, the guy who played on my Day in Nashville record. I don't think you've met him. And there's coffee houses where we all drink coffee. That's where we run into each other, really. Or out at a gig sometimes, you know, run into somebody, you know. But no, I'm not that into it. Honestly, a little bit, you know, from time to time. But hanging out a lot, too geeky. Too guitar geeky for me, you know. But anyway, I guess that's it. Which one? Are there any fellow guitarists that you hear that you can tell through their playing you have influence and that you enjoy hearing? Yes, I definitely hear my influence in people, and it only makes me proud, you know. I'm flattered that people are actually playing, you know, and clearly influenced by me. So it's a nice feeling. Man, I love your True Fire Dojo channel. I've learned so much, and am there every morning. That's beautiful. Yes, I have a channel, an instructional channel on the Robin Ford's Guitar Dojo channel on the True Fire platform. Easy to find over there, subscription based. $15 a month for 4 lessons a month. Are you kidding me? And there's a whole beginner's course and a whole intermediate course, and you can view either one.
8 lessons.
Yeah, well,
Beginner,
yes, it's 8 lessons a month. You're right, of course. 4 for beginner, 4 for intermediate. So yes, it's 8 lessons a month for $15. So anyway, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that. And I forget to even talk about it. So thanks for the reminder as well. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. When you are playing at home, do you like to play over other people's stuff or use a looper and come up with your own stuff? I never do any of that. Generally, when I sit down, I'm either, you know, I have an intention to write some music, or I don't do the 2-5-1 thing, which is a great way to expand your vocabulary. You know, some people transcribe and learn how to play 2-5-1. lines over 2-5-1 chord progression. But I'm still kind of playing with the diminished scale and finding new things to play on the diminished scale. Opening up the diminished scale across the fretboard more. I will practice that actually, and because I'm kind of more of a modal player, and I'm kind of more of a one chord vamp, kind of guy. In fact, that's the challenge. Like, because I'm I am a true improviser in that I'm always I fool around with what I know. I try to change it and break it up and expand it and contract it and stuff, But it's always nice to have some new things to play that you can, play that will catch people's ear. And for me, I sort of use them as that. It's like here's a surprise, So I kind of work on surprise riffs that I can just kind of interject here and there. And I use the diminished scale for that a lot because, as we've all talked about many times, the diminished scale can be used right over an E7 chord, So I like that. I like the one chord vamp kind of notion. How to be able to play more things over a one chord vamp as opposed to playing through chord changes, right? So the diminished scale is super handy with that. And then I'll exercise the use of an altered 5 chord against, whatever the key is. That's, another way to interject something interesting that finishes logically. You just play an altered 5 chord run back to your one chord jam, right? Things like that. Okay, Bowie had a really interesting method. He would write down words and phrases on scraps of paper and then shuffle them around over days and slowly work them into lyrics. Ever try anything like that? That's pretty good, Not exactly, no. Like those things for me are a great idea, but it wouldn't be my style. It's like you kind of have to develop your own style. I mean, and that could be it. You could take someone else's style and run with that, of course, But again, for me, every time I try to do what somebody has recommended, I move away from it, There's a great book called Writing Down the Bones. It's a book on writing. Natalie Goldberg, indeed. And, she really encourages just write freehand, just write, just don't stop the pen, just keep them words rolling, And I tried that and it was like, this is awful. I just couldn't take it. Say I need to say something better than that. It's just garbage. And even she, admits to just reams and reams. Reams?
Yeah.
Like just a notebook, just pages and pages of garbage. Dylan wrote like that, he described the writing of the song like a Rolling Stone. He said, that was like 100 pages of just vomit. That was the word he used. And then he just edited it down, kept editing it down, and it became like a Rolling Stone. So that obviously was a successful tool for him. But I just need to, it's like, when I write something, I'm just like, I need to make that better right now, And I need to choose, I need a better word. And I'm not afraid to go to the rhyming dictionary or the thesaurus and we just got to find a better way of saying this. The one thing that I will do is skip the rhyme. Don't worry about the rhyme. Just write the thing that you mean to say and then worry about rhyming it later. That's a good tip.
You have a whole course on this.
I do. I have a whole course. What would I do without her? I have a whole course on this on TrueFire, the songwriting course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Songcraft. Is it
Yeah.
Songcraft?
Just came out.
There's a new one. Songcraft is an old one,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, this one is
But the new one.
Songwriting Revolution. One would think Revolution is kind of my handle, you know. Songwriting. Anyway, it's new from TrueFire. It's not out yet, but it will be. And I use the Purple House record, 6 songs from the Purple House record, how, you know, they were written, the inspirations, how all the parts were played. It's pretty good. I actually just stumbled across the commercial for it yesterday, and I'm like, wow, that's good. So why did we talk about that?
It was just,
Just in general, the songwriting thing. Mm-hmm. Frank Pratt, Robin, can you say anything about Joni Mitchell as a songwriter or about her songwriting process? Not really. I mean, you know, especially when I was working with her, I was like just completely nowhere near, and still nowhere near, you know, her level, you know, as a songwriter, certainly. You know, she just has a big old open channel, man, you know. And, you know, you can't, like, I can't think of her as an inspiration. You know what I mean? The great songwriters, man, you know, like I'm not a songwriter, you know what I mean? There were guitar players. I'm way influenced by a bunch of guitar players. Songwriters? Nah, because I'm not a songwriter. But I write songs. So anyway, what a brilliant, obviously, you know, talent. I'll tell you one thing, just because it's kind of fun, a little fun fact, as David Letterman might say. When we were rehearsing for the first Joni Mitchell tour, we were doing, you know, much of that music was the Court and Spark album, which was the record that was out at the time. But she'd just written 2 new songs. And those songs were Love or Money and I'll Try to Keep Myself Opened Up to You, that one. So she was showing us Love or Money, you know. And at some point, somebody stopped her and went, wait a minute, what's that thing right there that you just did, you know? And she just sort of stopped and she goes, and she started right back at the beginning of the song. She couldn't start in the middle or anywhere else, second verse. She had to start at the beginning of the song. That's just fantastic, right? Okay, I think we got 2 more questions maybe before we go. I want to talk to, Martin from Poland here. Thank you for last year's show in Swiss. I don't know how to say that, but after that, I loved your music and your play. All the best for you. Oh, thank you. And play some not standard. If you play some not standard tunings. Nah, I'm a completely standard tuning guy. So far. What did you have in mind there, babe?
I don't know.
What plectrum do you use? I use basically the Fender Heavy, standard pick, you know? I was about to say triangle, but, you know, there's the triangle and then there's the triangle. But that's the one, you know? Just Fender Heavy. And, you know, Dunlop makes them, Diodario makes them. None of them are making great picks these days. It's a bummer. Hello from St. Louis, Robin. One of things I've always loved about your playing is phrasing. What's your approach to this? Well, you know, that's a lot of years, man. But I consider myself sort of a combination of a few different people. But the thing that really enhanced my phrasing approach was that I wanted to sound like horn players, you know? And also the guys that I liked, especially at an early age, you know, my first real musical influence, I would say, is Paul Desmond, the alto player for the Dave Brubeck Quartet, who wrote Take 5. And that album, Take Five, Dave Brubeck Quartet, is still to this day to me, it's one of the brilliant records. It's kind of almost on the level of Kind of Blue, Miles Davis' Kind of Blue. And a couple of other records at that time that were just amazing recordings. And so saxophone players and all, and melodic players, you know, Miles Davis, huge influence. Melodist, man, you know, singing when you play, you know. And Jim Hall, the guitarist. And if you've never heard it and you like Jim Hall, or if you've never heard Jim Hall, I would recommend the album Desmond Blue. It's a Paul Desmond quartet. I mean, that's not right. It's Paul Desmond with Jim Hall on guitar and a string section. And a lot of the string arrangements are quite corny. But boy, Jim Hall's solos on that record are just awesome. They're just so beautiful and musical. So I developed at a very early age. This music that was coming out of the heart, just singing from the heart, you know. That's always where, you know, I've gone musically, you know. I think that's a good place to end. And we've been doing this for just about an hour now. Kelly, sweetie, anything that I've left out?
Maybe just talk a little bit about these times and being home here and
good.
What's happening and how you're using your time a little bit.
Good. Yeah.
That's working for you.
Well, it is interesting for all of us, but indeed, Kelly and I are doing a lot of Buddhist practice. You know, that's like kind of the way the day starts, which is great. A couple of hours, and it's interesting. Again, like everyone else, like Kelly works from home, so she can just get down with work when she wants to. I kind of work from home now too, but it's, you know, I don't want to be on the road anyway, so I'm not unhappy about that. But you know, like you need a reason for being, right? Like I was talking to a musician friend of mine. I won't say his name, but he's like, I'm going nuts, man, you know, because I can't go outside, you know, I can't go to work. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. So I'm actually producing Paul Franklin, the great steel player. We hopefully, you know, the things will be all cleared up so people are willing to go back into the studio together again by the end of May. And so I'm writing for Paul Franklin. So you need you need a thing. You need something to aim towards, a goal, something like that. So that's certainly how I'm like trying to keep myself awake. You know?
You're also kind of starting to work on your own album.
Work on my own record. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I am, but I'm kind of more working on Paul Franklin's record. But yes, I will be. I could be in the studio for myself in May. The record company is just waiting on me, and again, we just need to let the air clear. I'm very disappointed that we're not going to Japan in April, but that will leave me a lot of time to write. So I spend my time writing. That really more than anything else. And again, I'll like find a little riff, you know, my little spice riff that I'll toss in there at a key moment. I work on that. And again, opening up the diminished scale. But the songwriting is the thing that really keeps me interested. You know, like it's like painting. You know, for me, writing songs is very much like painting. If you had an easel and a brush and some paints, man, you know, you just get engaged in that, right? And you know, you can kind of lose yourself in that a little bit, so to speak. So I like that. Anything else? Next week, we'll be right back here, although we might be upstairs. And I'll have a guitar with me, plugged into an amplifier probably. I'm not an acoustic guy, you know. I wish I could do that. I wish I could sit here and play an acoustic guitar for you, but I don't have anything that's super comfortable for me to play. always played the electric, you know. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. And thanks to Kelly.
Maybe it would be fun if people wanted to message about like things that they'd like to do with you, like in the next coming weeks. Yeah, on this.
On this, like something we might.
Would you want
engage
people to
with?
play songs? Would you want them to play songs for them, or or
would people want me to play songs for them?
Yeah, or show your guitars, or like stuff like that. Things that we could do together.
Sure, we're open to suggestions.
Yeah.
So I think people know how to do that, right?
Yeah, they can. I think they can just message probably under this, maybe under the comments under this video. That's probably the best. Okay, then we will be looking. Yeah. All righty. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Bye. Not yet.